Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a webinar with the title Effective CI/CD with Azure DevOps and the JFrog Platform. So today we're going to look at the JFrog Platform, and then we're going to see how you can use Azure DevOps as your CI/CD engine in order to integrate with the JFrog Platform and basically utilize all the great features and power that that we have added into the platform. So before we dive right in, I just want to introduce myself briefly. So I'm the head of the JFrog ecosystem engineering team inside JFrog. We are an extremely technical team composed of basically a group of developers. Basically what we're doing is developing tools, clients, applications, and APIs that help the community in integrating the JFrog platform with other components and applications which are as part of the DevOps environment. So we're managing today around 15 open source projects. All of our code is open source, and we welcome anyone who wants to join us, contribute code, collaborate with us to do so. We've been open to do this for a long time now. So as an example to one of the things that we are maintaining is JFrog CLI, which is a command line tool that can help integrate with many of the JFrog products, helps you automate things, and basically provides a smart client to do some, to allow some of the benefits, or to integrate some of the benefit that the platform provides into the automation processes that you have. Some more examples are IDE integrations that we are maintaining. So we have a JFrog extension for, I think, all of the popular IDEs today, IntelliJ, Eclipse, Visual Studio Code, and very recently also WebStorm and Golang. So those IDE integrations allow, provide a view for the developer about the dependencies that are used by the specific project, by showing exactly, showing vulnerabilities and issues with the components, and basically allowing the developer to take informed decisions on the actual dependencies that are used. So again, the topic today is Azure DevOps, but because security is such a fundamental foundation in what we do, so I wanted to mention that as well. So we're going to see exactly how security plays out in everything that we do. So that's a little bit about myself and my role. So I'm really passionate about technology in general. Specifically about technology which can help create a more sustainable future for us here on planet Earth. Now that we have the climate crisis going on, so I do believe that software has an important role in making sure that we have a bright future ahead of us. So software and everything around it. What basically our mission in JFrog is around software delivery. So it's really important. To make sure that the software that the world consumes and needs is easy to develop, is easy to deliver. So the JFrog solutions basically help throughout the whole process. From the developer who's creating the code, during the actual process, the build process, the security. Scanning, the actual delivery, the distribution. So that's what we're trying to solve, and we believe that with the vast experience that we've gained over the last 10 years, we can keep basically improving the infrastructure and everything that the software community needs in order to be effective in the process of delivering software. Okay, so all right, so let's start by talking about the JFrog platform briefly. Most of this webinar is going to be a live demo. I'm not going to show a lot of slides today. I just want to, give you a sense of basically the basic concepts and what we're going to see. So we created recently the JFrog platform in order to take all of the existing JFrog products, Artifactory, X-Ray, Mission Control, and other products, and basically putting them all inside one platform with one unified UI. And the idea is to provide a better experience, basically having everything that you need or everything that JFrog built under one roof, allowing you one consistent UI, everything in one place, using the same entities, the same terminology. So that's one of the ideas of the foundations behind the JFrog platform. And in addition, security is a fundamental aspect of the platform, as I mentioned before. So security is a first-class citizen inside the platform. We're leveraging JFrog X-Ray in order to scan everything that we can inside the platform. So all the binaries, which is basically the software that we're delivering, everything can be scanned by JFrog X-Ray. And we're providing this capability of scanning things in various stages of the software lifecycle. So as I mentioned before, since you can start this from your developers who are actually writing the code and getting information about this, you can move on and do additional scanning as part of your CI/CD process, which is what we're going to see here today. And you can also set up scanning for your Artifactory repositories, regardless of how your artifacts got there, through a CI/CD process or through a different method. So security is really important. And also, the JFrog platform today includes JFrog pipelines, which is a built-in workflow engine, a real modern CI/CD engine, which allows you to configure the whole workflow. It's built on Docker containers and provide isolation for the various steps of the workflow. And you can also use that as part of the platform. You can use JFrog pipelines together with other CI/CD solutions or as a standalone solution. Basically, you have the freedom to choose how to use this. All right, so let's take a a high-level overview over the JFrog platform. So if you look at the left-hand side, you have your code repo. So it can be either GitHub, Bitbucket, or whatever source control vendor that you have there. And then Artifactory manages the binaries created from the build. So it hosts those binaries in repositories, which can have specific access privileges for each repository, and then those binary can be promoted from one repository to another in order to maintain the life cycle of those binary. And this is, of course, up to you, what works for your organization, what lifecycle works for you. The binaries can be in a dev repo, and then in a testing repo, and then staging, etc., till they are ready. Those binaries that are ready to be later deployed in production. And as I said, if you move further to the right, JFrog X-Ray provides the security aspect, the scanning. So as I mentioned earlier, this can happen in various stages of the cycle. Once everything is secured, you have the option of using JFrog distribution in order to handle the heavy lifting of delivering this software through the network to the remote locations where your software needs to be deployed. So JFrog distribution allows configuring the actual bundles, release bundles that you want to distribute, and we allow installing or setting up edge nodes basically very near in the locations, in the faraway locations when the software needs to be consumed or deployed, and JFrog distribution can work together with those nodes and deliver the software there. And from that point, you can automate the process of basically deploying the software. What we're trying to, basically our vision in JFrog is what we call liquid software. So when we say liquid software, we're actually talking about the ability to make the software delivery process so simple and so transparent that is basically liquid. So a developer finishes developing the code, and then very, very, very easily, if everything passes all the quality gates and safeguards, this piece of software is installed on whatever the device that it needs to be deployed on. So everything that we do is basically focused towards this vision, which is basically in line as our mission, as I described earlier, to provide the world with an easy and sustainable way of delivering software, regardless of where the software needs to be distributed to, what type of software, the technologies, the languages, everything is meant to be supported. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, if you look at the bottom part, everything can be managed and controlled using JFrog pipelines, the whole workflow. And also mission control and insights is also a part of the platform, and it provides an overview of everything that happens inside your platform, your various locations, and the processes that are happening, which gives you a sense of control. Of you're able to see and basically maintain all of your infrastructure in a very convenient way. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about Azure DevOps and the JFrog platform. So we built a tight integration between Azure DevOps, the Azure DevOps platform, and the JFrog platform, and we did it. And we did this using an extension, the Artifactory extension for Azure DevOps. So once you install the extension from the Azure DevOps marketplace on your Azure DevOps environment, you get multiple capabilities that basically allow you to work with the JFrog platform from Azure DevOps. So the first thing that we're talking about is build integration. You're going to see later on this demo, the JFrog platform includes the build entity. It's really like centric and visible inside the JFrog platform, and the idea is to take the build from Azure DevOps and the build that the JFrog platform is aware of, and basically making them the same. Basically reflecting inside the JFrog platform as much information as possible from the actual build entity inside Azure DevOps. In addition, metadata. So metadata is also very fundamental in Artifactory as part of the platform and the platform itself, because we believe that just managing a repository of binaries is not enough. It's very important, but it's not enough. You also need to have metadata about those binaries. And metadata is also part of the build integration or the build information, but it can be also customizable. So you have the option of tagging your artifacts according to events that they went through. For example, if all the tests passed, then you can tag those binaries with a customizable property that allows you like to search those artifacts, move them, and do other operations according to this metadata. And of course, all of this build integration requires deep knowledge and integration with the actual build tools that we use sometimes in order to build our software. So there's already integration for NuGet, Maven, Gradle, NPM, Python, Go, Conan, and also Docker. So Artifactory basically has tight integration with, I think today, more than 25 package managers. And all of those package managers that I mentioned as a subset are already supported in Azure DevOps in order to create this tight integration. Even package managers which are not yet supported, you also have the option of working with them using the generic build integration, which I'll touch very soon. And also coming really soon is .NET Core support. So if you're building your software using the .NET Core CLI, that's also going to be supported similarly to the way NuGet is supported. So you're going to have a task in Azure DevOps to take care of that as well. Generic artifacts is also something that is supported. If you want to download, upload, copy, move, or do other operations or set these on artifacts, and even if those artifacts are not were not created using one of the standard build tools, but they were created by a proprietary process inside your organization, or even if they are, I don't know, it's an NPM package or something else, you're also able to use file specs, which we're going to look at later on, in order to define exactly what you want these artifacts to go through. So that's also something that we're going to look at. And of course, the whole life cycle management of binaries, as I described earlier, making sure they're promoted and they're managed. We've been dealing with binaries for a long time now, and we have a very good sense of what's needed in order to have a real effective management of your software and your binaries. And a lot of this knowledge is actually coming from our users and our customers who are continuously providing us with feedback. So we feel that we know a little bit about the life cycle or the requirements of what's actually needed in order to manage a life cycle effectively, and taking that opportunity to invite you to engage with us using the Slack channel that we'll be posting in order to share with us your thoughts, your ideas, and also provide us feedback and questions. And of course, security. So I talked about security a lot, but it's worth mentioning here that, again, that security is a really important part of what we have. All right now I am inside Azure DevOps, and what I did, I created a build pipeline for the sake of this demonstration. So, and as you can see, I also had a few runs just before this session. So if I go to edit, I can see here my my pipeline YAML. So let's give it here. It's loaded. And also, if you're familiar just a bit with Azure DevOps, what it does, it allows, it basically stores this as this Azure DevOps YAML file inside your code repo. So for the sake of this demonstration, we are going to build our JFrog VS Code extension. So I briefly, or not so briefly, mentioned our IDE's integration. So this is so we're going to try and build this project, which is NPM based. Just chose this one. I could have chosen any other of our projects or any other projects out there. So so let's dive right in. So I have here already the actual YAML pipeline that I created. So we're going to use this in order to see some of the things that we can do. If we had 2 or 3 hours, I'm sure that I had that I could fill them with more information. But I'll try to focus here on the on the important things, and hopefully you'll be able to go on and explore more, and also ask questions as you go. So this is my pipeline. I really like creating it through the UI. It's much easier. So the UI basically creates those tasks for you. So just before we drill down, let's just go to the UI for a minute in Azure Pipelines, and you can basically see all the Artifactory tasks that we have. Just searching here for Artifactory. So you see, so we have a build promotion task and a task for collecting build issues and all the integrations, Conan, Docker, generic upload and download, and everything else. So you can just click on that, fill out the fields from the UI, and then just add them into your pipeline. So let's see what I've created till now. So this is my pipeline. I'm running it on an Ubuntu, and I started by and of course the code is cloned. It's checked out into the build agent, and then I have here an Artifactory npm task, which basically is going to run install. I'm also defining here the actual Artifactory service that I'm using. I defined it as an endpoint inside the Azure pipelines. Let's do this real quick. Just see how we did this. I'm going here to the settings, and then I'm going to the service connections, and then here I have my Echo. That's the name that I chose for it. And if I am adding a new service connection, then I have your Artifactory, and I can basically define it. So and that way it's basically built throughout throughout the whole project. So let me just briefly go back into the project. So I'm building, I'm installing the component. I can provide a build name and a build number. So here, basically what I'm doing, I'm providing the defaults which is the default build name and the default build number that Azure DevOps provide. That's going to be translated into the build entity in Artifactory, which we're going to see. After I'm doing that, I'm just building and packaging my JFrog extension. And then what I want to do is I want to upload this extension into a repository in Artifactory. So I'm using this file spec. You see, this is a file spec. It's a flexible JSON format which allows defining what I want to do with artifacts, and it's very similar across the different operations that I can do on artifacts: upload, download, copy, move, delete, etc. So later on, we're probably going to get some more in-depth, if we have time, into file specs and what I can do with them. But if you're working through the documentation, you can very easily create this. So we're defining a pattern. So basically we're saying I want to upload to Artifactory all files with the VSIX extension. The package that we're building has a VSIX extension, and it's only one is created. So it's very easy for me just to put here a wildcard so that any name of the extension according to the version will be picked up. And I'm gonna, the target is actually the repository in Artifactory. that I want to deploy to. I can also define after this a specific path that I want to put it, but I don't care about this right now. I just want to upload it to the root of this repository. So we're going to see how it's deployed later on. And then also I'm providing the build name and the build number. I chose to create a module name for the build info. Running over this really quickly just to give you a sense of what I'm doing. Then I'm going to collect all the issues that are related to the build. We're also going to look into that later on. I'm going to publish the build info, all the metadata created by the build. That's important. That's basically allows Artifactory or the JFrog platform to construct the build entity that I can later use for other things like security scanning and promotion. So here in this step, I'm scanning this specific build with JFrog X-Ray, and only if this build if the scanning success is successful, I want to promote this build into a new repository called, as you can see here, staging local, because I want to make sure that only things that passed all of the quality gates, the testing and the scanning and everything else goes to staging local. Just to remember, when we uploaded the artifacts, we uploaded into a repository called npm. Okay, so that's basically the idea. So now let's go and just run our, sorry about that. Let's just go ahead and run our pipeline. Okay, so there we go. We are, I think, here. And now, in order to run it, I can run it from here. But, since the pipeline is triggered through commit and push, then this is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm right now here in the repository. This is just a file that I don't need. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I created here like a very simple script that's what it does. Let's make a small change to the Azure pipelines YAML so that there's actually something to be added or to be changed in the repository. And then I'm just going to push. Okay, now so now this build this pipeline is triggered. So let's just go and see that actually it started running. There it is. And yeah, and the job is about to start. So we're gonna leave this on and go back shortly to it and see exactly what's going on. In the meantime, while it is running, or here you can see all the tasks that are going on. Now it's in the stage of building the LPM package, and then it's going to deploy it. So let's so in a minute we'll go back to it. But in the meantime, while it's running, let's go to the JFrog Platform UI and look a bit more about the notion of builds and what we can do there. So right now I'm inside the JFrog Platform UI and I'm expanding Artifactory. And here I have packages view, builds view, and artifacts view. Let's go to the builds view because that's really important. And you can see here all the builds that I've already run from either Azure DevOps or any other CI tool that I've used. So this is the name of the build that I'm currently right now, the one at the top. If you remember, I'm using as a default the name provided to this build by Azure Pipelines. And if I'm going into this build, I can see all the previous build runs. And actually, I think that the last build that I now see is what I ran just now. I think that it actually got pushed. Let's go back to the pipeline. And as you can see, yeah, it actually ran. And look, most steps were successful, but the actually Artifactory X-ray scan step failed, which is good. I actually intended this to fail. I made sure that our code includes real security vulnerabilities, just to show you how it looks like. So yeah, so it failed here, and therefore it didn't go into the promotion stage. So if you go to the Artifactory to the publish build info step, you can see here that the step has run and the build info is published to Artifactory, although it failed the scan and therefore the promotion failed. And what I can actually do from Azure DevOps is to very easily go into the JFrog platform. I just need to go here into the actual build run, and notice that you have here this Artifactory tab. And if I click on it, and here I can actually see from Azure DevOps, I have a link here to the build info and to the X-ray build scan report. I can actually get to the X-ray build scan report from the build info as well. Let me click on it. And from here, we are right into the build UI. This time I got directed right into the page from Azure DevOps actually, and so let's see what we see here. We see here at the upper section of the page all the generic information about the builds, and then I see here the published modules section, and right in here I'm going to see all the data about the modules. But if you remember, I'm really curious to know what happens, why X-ray, the scanning failed. So I'm going to the X-ray data here, and oh my God, look how many issues I have here, high severity issues. And it's actually going to show me, if I drill down to each one of them, I see here the general details, but if I drill down, I'm actually able to see the actual vulnerability. So I see here the build, and look, I actually see the component, which is a dependency of my build, which is vulnerable. So this is something which is really, really important to understand. I built my extension, using NPM dependencies, and because I published this to Artifactory as part of a build. Now let's go and see to the published modules and see exactly what's going on. I have here one module. Because I published this as part of a build, you see here, this is the artifact. Under the artifact section, I have here, as you can see, one artifact. This is my application. But here underneath, there are 250 dependencies that I've used for this build. Some are direct dependencies, and some are indirect or transitive dependencies, which were brought by NPM to my build. They were requested by the direct dependencies or a few levels downstream. And here I can see all of those dependencies, and I can even see where they are located in Artifactory. So because the JFrog platform gets all of this information about my build, it is basically able to say, all right, I want to scan everything. Not only, and this is important, X-ray can actually, and it does, open the actual binary and looks what's inside it in order to understand whether there are vulnerable components. Think of an NPM package, or you know what, about a Docker image. It's the best example to demonstrate this. So a Docker image can basically include anything. It can include NPM packages, Debian packages, WAR files, you name it. And X-ray is able to open this this Docker image, look inside, and then through a view similar to what I showed you here, you're able to actually see that the image is vulnerable, but not only if it's vulnerable, but why. So that's one thing. That's actually analyzing what's packaged inside the binary. But what if your binary actually does not include all the dependencies that it needs? What if they are like runtime dependencies that are needed on the actual server for it to run? So there you go. Because we have the build info functionality, which actually tells the JFrog platform exactly what was used in order to compile, to build this artifact. Then we're able to scan everything and let you know whether anything is basically vulnerable. All right, let's move on, because I wish I had more time to talk about this, but we're running out of time here. So here you see the build info. You also see the environment variables. Sorry, I got logged out. Let me log in again. Okay, all right. So let's go back to the build. So I have here the list of all of the environment variable that I collected, that my build is collected. I can see exactly what's going on. I see here the X-ray data, and I see here more information about the build. I have a diff tool that can compare specific build, but I also have this very interesting tab which talks about issues. So the JFrog platform is basically, it can show you exactly which issues, bugs, tasks were handled through this build. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how it can determine that automatically without you having to actually put this information for every build. If I click here, for example, you see there's one issue. And in this specific case, it's a GitHub issue. So if I click on it, I go right into GitHub. We manage issues for the JFrog VS Code extension in GitHub. So you get right into the issue and can see what it is. So in a minute, we're going to see how you can configure that from Azure DevOps or any other platform. But you get the idea. You have here all the information that you need in order to manage your builds properly. Let's go. Let's try and run the build again. I'm not going to now go through the process of upgrading the dependencies in order for my build to pass. I'm just going to do something quicker, which you probably don't want to do in real life, but for the sake of this demonstration, let's just go ahead and say, all right, you know what? Even if the scanning failed, I want you to continue. So I'm going here to the, sorry, not here. I want to go to the X-ray scan task. This is the build promotion. And here, sorry, missed that. This is the X-ray scan task. And I'm going to say, instead of allow fail build true, I'm going to say false. And then I'm going to let the build run. Just before I run, I want you to notice something, which is really, which demonstrates what's going on here better. You see that we're promoting here, if this step is successful, we're actually doing a build promotion into the staging local repository. So if I'm going back to my build, again, to the published module, and into my single artifact, and I'm looking at the path, you see that the path begins with npm local. So if this build were promoted, which is what we're going to cause right now, then the artifact we're going to see that is in a different repository. All right. So let's do that. So I did this. I saved it. Now let's push again. And while that's running, I want to show you how we actually managed to collect this GitHub issue and automatically add it into the build. So if we go here, you notice this specific task, or the factory collect issues task. And basically what we're doing here is we're actually telling Azure DevOps to determine which issues were fixed, were handled as part of this build, and add them to the build info so that they're later visible as part of the build info through the JFrog Platform UI. And how do we do that? So in the documentation of Azure DevOps, we are describing how you can create this YAML-based structure, which basically defines how to collect those issues that that were fixed as part of the that by running a regular expression on the actual Git commits of the issue. So this is a regular expression this one is a regular expression that takes the Git commit, all of the Git commits, and then from there it tries to extract all the issues that were handled, and that works if all developers have a convention for the for the actual commit message. So if you look again at my at how I pushed my my commit to GitHub. Look, I did a Git commit, and this is the commit message. And we decided in JFrog that we're going to use this convention. It's going to start with the actual issue ID. So in this specific case, we're using GitHub, and then we're going to add a space, minus space, and then the message. So basically, that's what this regular expression picks up. And then it's able to build the URL to the specific message, because I defined here the base URL for my issue tracking system, which is GitHub. We can do this with Jira or with whatever system that you're using. So feel free to explore all everything that you can do here from the documentation. And again, we're here for your suggestions and questions. So that's that's how we did this. So let's just go and have a final look at our build and see whether it was successful. I'm actually not even going to go to the Azure DevOps. Let's try and look specifically here, and if the build was successful, then I'm expecting the promotion to be to happen. Or hey, look, this time the status is released, right? It's a new build, it's released, because when I configured my promotion task, I added the release attribute to that. And if I go, I now can see that my artifact is actually, you see, now it's in the staging local. All right. The last thing that I want to show you is integration with releases in Azure DevOps. So let's go back to the Azure DevOps UI and let's look at releases. So I'm going back and I'm going to releases here. And here is a release that I created, and there are a few runs of this release that I did. Let me show you basically what I did. I created a really simple, the simplest release process that I could think of. Basically, what I want to do in the release is just say, all right, I like this build is good. I just want to promote it into the prod local repository in Artifactory. So this is what I did. I'm going here to the edit of the release that I created. And here I just added, I'm going to tasks. And here I added just one Artifactory build promotion task. And what I'm doing here, I'm selecting the Echo Artifactory server that I defined earlier. I name a number automatically when I'm releasing. I want to choose a specific release from Artifactory that I wanna release, and I'm saying that I want to release it to the prod local repository, and yeah, I want to tag the status as released, and that's it. I have here a bunch of other options to do. So let's create this release right now. Let it run, and then I'm going to show you how I actually managed to create the definition of this release. So I'm clicking on create a release here, and This is, I have here the actual build name in Artifactory already. And here I can already see all the build numbers. Those are fetched automatically from Artifactory at runtime. So I'm just going to choose the last one because that's the one that I'm going to release. And I'm going to do, once I do a click release, that one will be released. You also have, and okay, let's talk about the additional options in a minute, but that's it. I'm doing a create. And right now what's happening is that this release is running. So let's look at the release running right now. I think it's this one. I'm going here to the log. And yeah, it's going to start momentarily. The agent is getting ready. But yeah, that's what will happen basically. Here, it's starting to run. Basically, this artifact is going to move into here. Everything is successful. So now I'm going to go to the exact same build and see that it was moved. That basically now it's moved. See the same release. This time the artifact is in prod local. You see, I think that demonstrates the whole notions of promotion and releases and how the JFrog platform actually fits into the workflow that Azure DevOps describes. All right, the very last thing that I want to show you is how I created this this release actually. So I'm going to go back to the UI here, and let's try and create a new release. I think that I'm doing it from here. Here, new release pipeline. So in order to create a new release pipeline and to basically define it, the first thing I'm going to choose the template for the job. So I'm just going to choose an empty job, do apply here, and yeah, and now that I have that ready, I'm going to choose an artifact provider, a artifact source provider, and I'm going to choose Artifactory, of course. So I'm going to expand this, and I'm going to choose Artifactory. And once I've done that, I'm choosing again my Echo Artifactory, which is currently the only one who is defined for this project. And I have here the list of the build names. This is fetched from Artifactory as we speak. So let's just look for the one that we used right now. I believe it's this one. And now I have the option of choosing whether I want to specify the build number when issuing the release, which is what I did, or I want I want to issue a specific build name and build number. I also have the option of just saying, hey, just use the latest release, and this is currently done using adding an environment variable to the build. So you can go and check that out in the documentation by adding an environment variable here in the variables. You're able to do all that. So the last thing that we want to show you is a short video demonstrating JFrog pipelines, and it's also it's an additional way of actually creating CI/CD workflows and making them work with the JFrog platform. So let's go ahead and see the video, and from that, and then we'll continue after that.
Welcome to JFrog Pipelines, the next generation CI/CD solution for DevOps automation. Let's take a quick look at some of the key features. JFrog Pipelines is part of the JFrog Platform, bringing together Artifactory, X-Ray, and distribution into a unified end-to-end system for one-stop DevOps. Through a single pane of glass, administrators can manage user and groups permissions to control who sees what. Pipelines comes with several out-of-the-box integrations for the DevOps tools you're likely to use most, enabling you to quickly add connections to services such as version control systems, cloud providers, Docker, and Kubernetes. Let's look at the GitHub integration that's already been added. As you can see, you provide the endpoint and credentials, which Pipelines stores centrally and securely. You code your pipeline in the YAML-based Pipelines DSL and store it in your Git-compatible source code repository, as shown here on GitHub. In this DSL, you'll declare the resources and steps of your pipeline. You'll tell Pipelines where your DSL file is stored by adding the repo as a pipeline source, connecting it through a Pipelines integration. Once you do, Pipelines will automatically sync with the source to load and process your YAML DSL file. Every time you commit a change to your YAML DSL file, Pipelines will sync from that source to reload it. Viewing your pipeline presents you with an interactive diagram that visualizes your workflow sequence. Here, we build and push a Docker image. A CI build can trigger on a change to your source code, such as a new commit of any or selected files. Pipeline's native steps provide you with a streamlined way to speed your most common DevOps tasks, such as making and managing a Docker image, promoting between artifact repositories, or deploying to Kubernetes through Helm. Your pipelines can be as complex as you need, as in this build of a front-end and back-end portions of an application using Maven and NPM. Your pipeline can trigger from multiple sources, enabling it to flow through different paths. Every time your pipeline is run, Pipelines logs a record of its execution. You can see when every run occurred and whether it was successful. And you can view the detailed log of every run, even for runs currently executing. In the run log, you can examine the actions and results of every step in your pipeline. This enables you to diagnose any errors in a failed step, or to watch the output of a currently executing step in real time. Your pipelines run in build nodes that you provide, grouped into node pools. The nodes in a pool run the same host OS, so that multiple pipeline steps can execute in parallel. You can create pools of static nodes, which are always available machines on-prem or in the cloud, or dynamic pools, where nodes are spun up and down in a cloud service as they're needed, helping you to save costs. Thanks for watching this JFrog Pipelines Key Features video. Please visit our documentation to learn more about Pipelines features and our JFrog website at jfrog.com.
All right. So before we move on to the questions, just some exciting news to share with you. So our user conference SwampUp is back in June, and this time it's it's going to be a virtual event. So you're all welcome to join us on June 23rd to 24th. In the US, or June 30th till July in Europe and Asia. It's depending on your time zone. So join us for 2 days of exciting sessions, keynotes, and there's a 1 day of hands-on training like we do every year for all the JFrog products. This is basically a great opportunity to learn about what's coming in 2020, both from JFrog and the DevOps community as a whole, and to take your training further in JFrog. You can help yourself become a real power user. So feel free to visit swampup.jfrog.com. I believe now that this is now the time for some questions. If if anyone has them. So yeah, so feel free to send those questions and we'll answer them.
Okay, I see we have a few questions. So one of the questions is there a plan to integrate Yocto build chain in this nice environment? We would like to see the security vulnerability scan and dependencies in a similar way for Yocto dependencies. Are there some plans for future related to Yocto environment?
So yeah, so we have really big backlog of things and integration that we want to add, and I believe that this is also included. But definitely this we have big plans for this integration in addition to other integrations with JFrog Platform. So I don't remember right now if this is when this is included, but I'm pretty sure that it's there somewhere. So yeah. So thanks for sharing this requirement. Feel free to request more integration. That helps us, understand what's needed from you guys and help plan our roadmap further.
Okay. Another question is, how do we do integration of Azure DevOps so that monitoring, scanning by X-ray, security, etc., will have an end-to-end visibility and integration? Do we integrate with Marketplace, and how the pricing works for the JFrog platform?
So I think there were a few questions here. Can you repeat the first part of the question? It just got cut off for me.
Sure. So how do we do integration of JFrog platform with Azure DevOps? I think that's the main question.
How do we do integration with JFrog Platform with what again?
With Azure DevOps, so that monitoring, scan by X-ray security will have an end-to-end visibility integration.
Okay, so basically this is I think that you're relating to what I actually showed you here. So you are able, basically what I did here, I created an Artifactory X-ray scan task as part of my pipeline, and and that's basically my that's basically what allows me to block or to monitor vulnerable builds. So a vulnerable build can have either vulnerable artifacts or even vulnerable dependencies. So I hope I answered the question correctly. If not, then we can continue this conversation through the Slack channel, and I'll be glad to provide more in-depth information about that.
Okay, thank you, Al. So maybe one last question, because we're also running out of time. And the question is, can you please explain how releasing the build from build pipeline is different from releasing it from release pipeline? Like after build scanning, the build was marked as released and moved to prod local. Similarity in release pipeline, you selected the artifact and its version. I hope that question was clear. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So honestly, you can do everything that I showed here even without releases in Azure DevOps. You can either use this, or you can build everything from the build pipeline. So basically, I try to show you here like a mix of everything that you can do. So I did here 2 promotions. I did a promotion through the build pipeline to a staging repo, and then I did another promotion from the releases into the prod repo. So you could say, hey, I could have created a whole new like an additional build pipeline, which actually is a replacement for the release. But Azure DevOps does include this concept of releases. There are people who really like this approach, like this separation between the actual build and the release. Release is sometimes treated as a more crucial part. This is actually the what basically delivers the software to the outside. So it's sometimes convenient to separate both. And it's actually nice to be able to say, all right, I want to release a specific build What we've added to Azure DevOps is basically Artifactory as an artifact source, and we chose to let you select a pre-published build to Artifactory in order to release it. So so to answer your question, yeah, you can either do it with the release or without it. It's basically up to you what works for you and for your life cycle.
Okay, thank you, Eyal. So I think those are the questions that we got. And as Eyal mentioned, you can always reach out to us on the Slack channel, and we'll be happy to discuss any technical questions you may have there as well. You will all receive the recording of this webinar tomorrow. And with that, I think that is it from us today. I want to thank Eyal for this great presentation. I want to thank you everyone for joining us today. And we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.